Welcome back. First thing that we notice here is that the formatting here, this is the same as all of the papers that we've done, right? Times New Roman, I know you can say it in your sleep. Times New Roman, 12, double space, 1-inch margins, no extra spacing. Interesting title, draw the reader in, as well as reflect the content of the paper. This is not a mini essay, not a mini essay. So with our introduction, what we want to do is have a full paragraph. Unlike the mini essay, which is the opening is just 1 to 2 sentences, here we want to have a full introduction. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to drop in some information about the author that wouldn't have made it in to a mini essay, of course. Of course, we always want to identify the story that we're working with, right? And regarding the story, include some background information, a summary of the story, and then what do I start to work towards? This is what's driving the bus, everybody, the theme. So you want to be sure that your theme is clearly identified. When going through and reading your papers, this is what I want to see. I want to be sure that the theme is there. So what do we see in my thesis? And again, where's my thesis? My thesis ends my introduction. Right, this theme, as we've seen when we went through and looked at the story, the text, is that it's exhibited through many different elements. However, its greatest development is reflected in the character of Elisa. Everything that's going to be found in this paper, right? This is my element. My literary device, working with characterization. I've always loved character. So I'm looking at the interchange between the theme and the character of Elisa. So what do I do now? Everything that comes in the body has to support this. So the first thing that I do, looking into the character of Elisa, is I look at the relationship between her and her husband. Right, so that's my topic sentence. Here we go, there's my topic sentence. Now, what do we see here? Research, right? That's my orange highlighter. Okay, just a quick review. This is a direct quote. So we have to use those quotation marks. What I have here, if you'll remember, this is a signal phrase. What a signal phrase is that it leads the reader into that part of your research. We can't just drop a quote into a research paper. We can't do that. We have to provide a signal phrase. Now, what do we have here? We have the author, and then we have the page number. Remember, if you're working with a resource from one of the databases and there's no pagination, don't use the page numbers that the printer puts on there because there's no pages in cyberspace. Then what do we see in yellow, right? Here I have my textual support from the story. We got to have that. Then what do we see further? Some more orange, some more what? Research. there's no quotation marks here. And so what is this? This is summary, also known as a paraphrase. Often working with the research, you'll get sometimes a paragraph and you go, wow, this paragraph is so amazing. But there's no way to take that paragraph and squeeze it into a 2 to 3 page paper because it would just throw everything out of proportion. So just paraphrase it, right? If you have a paragraph or maybe like 4 sentences, yeah, you can't do that. Just paraphrase it, put it into your own words. But remember, we still have to give credit to the author where that idea came from, right? So remember, we have to cite quotes as well as paraphrases. And then here I have my concluding sentence. Oops, having trouble spelling today. There's my concluding sentence. And you'll notice what's going on in my concluding sentence. Number one, my concluding sentence is not a quote from the story, nor is it a quote from my research. It comes from me. And what does this concluding sentence do? It's restating my thesis. What do I see here? My element characterization, as well as what? The restatement of the theme. Some barriers can never be what? Crossed. Unable to what? Cross this unseen line. A good way to do this is go ahead and write out your topic and concluding sentences with those 3 body paragraphs, and then start to plug in research and quotes. And you'll notice here, right? You'll notice. Yeah, you notice that not everything is orange and yellow. Yeah, because what's the most important thing in this paper? Me. What's the most important thing in your paper? It's you. So that's body paragraph 1. I'm not done. So here again, here I have my topic sentence. And what have I done again? I'm linking again to what? My thesis. This is a good way to check yourself to make sure that you're staying on topic. Look at your topic sentences. Go ahead and tie in your main idea, that theme, right? And then what do we see here? Boom. There she is. Characterization of Elisa. So again, what do we see? Quotes from the story, right? So here I have a paraphrase. Oh, now this is interesting, right? Why do I just have the author listed here? When as before, there was the page number inside the parentheses. Why is there just the author? Well, because that was something from the database. And can I check it? Yes. Boom. So that's how we can check it. Okay. Now here, what do we call this? A signal phrase. So this is a direct quote. Go ahead and label it. All right, so here's my signal phrase. Now, in this one, I go in and I name the author. Before, I created a signal phrase without naming the author. And that's why I had to include the author in the parentheses. Now, since I have the author named in the signal phrase, she's not included in the parentheses. And a lot of people say, well, hey, Mr. K, you forgot the page number. No, I didn't. Came from cyberspace, right? Also, please note, even if you're just copying a phrase, just a short little blip from an article, you still have to give credit for that little blip. So there I do again, right? So I have my research working in, right? There's a paraphrase, quotes from the story. And again, what do we see here? Here we see my concluding sentence. What do we see in my concluding sentence? The same thing that we saw before, making the connection just like we did in our thesis. Why is this so important to do? Number one, and make sure that you know that you're staying on topic, you're keeping your focus, the target is there, you're not wandering away. And as well, it's a good way to pull the reader back in so the reader doesn't necessarily space out when the reader is going through your paper, right? And what do we see here? The restatement of my theme. So I'm not going through and just repeating it over and over and over again as it was in my thesis. I'm trying to come up with different ways to restate it. So we have one more body paragraph and hopefully be able to wrap things up in the next video.